Hi, I'm Bobby Hardin. Welcome to the Historic Arkansas Museum. Today we're in the Brownlee kitchen where I'm going to teach you about that staple of rations everywhere, hardtack. We're going to learn here how to make it from our recipe, which should be posted online after the video. So hardtack is, well, it's simple, frankly, and you eat it when you have to, not when you want to. It has very little flavor because the purpose of hardtack is shelf life. And other things that add flavor reduce shelf life. So this is basically just flour and water. So to start with, the recipe we have calls for 6 cups of flour. However, I'm not going to eat that much hardtack. So I'm going to half that to 3 cups. That's 2. And now, at the time, they probably would have just measured it in any old actual cup. They would have just done a ratio of 6 whatever units of measurement to 1 unit of measurement of water. That's a bit too much, but we'll just put half of that in there. All right. And now you add some salt. Salt is optional. If they had it, they definitely would have added it because, well, it's just flour without it. Our recipe does not include salt because we try to be as basic as possible and authentic. But I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons for the half batch. And then the final ingredient that'll put it all together, water. Now our recipe calls for a whole cup for the full recipe, so half a cup for this. However, there's so many variables, you really just got to put in as much as it takes to make a dough. So half a cup's a good place to start, but then you might have to add more. Now you can use a spatula or a spoon to mix it, however, it's going to get really thick and really hard. So, why not use those tools given to us, our fingers. Definitely what they would have done. People back in the day were not afraid to get their hands dirty. In fact, it was kind of a necessity. Now, while I'm mixing this up and making a huge mess, I'll talk to you a little bit about the history of hardtack. Now, hardtack as we know it is not new. It wasn't new back in the 1800s either. We've probably had a floury biscuit like hardtack, just a little longer or a little shorter than we've had flour. The Egyptians had a floury biscuit. The Romans had a hard cracker. British, whenever they were conquering, well, most of the world, they sent hardtack with their crew. That's probably where we get the name hardtack from. It's popularized by the British. During the 1800s, especially in America, what it was used for was rations when you were exploring. So during the expeditions of Lewis and Clark, they probably had hardtack on their ship. People traveling to California for gold, they had hardtack, definitely. And during wartime, you definitely needed hardtack because you never knew when you could get fresh food. So during the Mexican-American War in the 1840s, they had hardtack. And during the Civil War, which is probably where it's most famous, they had hardtack. In fact, hardtack lasts so long and is used so much in war that the South during the Civil War had to use leftover hardtack from the Mexican-American War as part of their rations, which was about 15 years old at that point. Still good. I mean, well, as good as hardtack gets. We got a pretty good dough going here, and if you add too much water, don't worry about it. You just add some more flour until you get the ratio right. Your goal here is to get something that's not wet to the touch, but moldable, sort of like dry plating. Now, the standard ration size for hardtack was a 3" by 3" square, or thereabouts. that's what we have on our recipe. However, that's a lot of hardtack per serving, so I'll probably make slightly smaller biscuits. Now, you want to roll this out or just spread it out using your fingers so it's a ½ inch thick. Now, modern recipes might call for sugar, adding sugar or some kind of fat, possibly butter, or yeast. Now, those things will definitely make it taste better, and will add leavening, the yeast will, but it reduces shelf life. And the purpose of hardtack, as I've said before, is shelf life. Now, something I think I ought to mention is how to eat hardtack, because one of its other nicknames here was tooth duller, also molar breaker, also sheet iron cracker. So, you know, you can't just bite into it. Let me grab a knife real quick to cut it. There we go. And it's kind of like just cutting cookies. I've made sugar cookies before. You just slice what you need, and then you can reform the dough. Now this, just cut the good ones in here. That's probably too little. However, this is a good size here. And then more. Another one here. That was a little messy, but then again, with hardtack, I mean, this really doesn't count for much. Three cups of flour, you probably will only get 1 baking sheet, maybe a little bit more. Now, because I know everyone out there doesn't want to watch a Facebook Live of an hour of baking, I'm not going to show you them baking. However, what you would do is put these in an oven, and just a plain baking sheet like this. You don't need to coat it in anything. They're not very sticky. And put it in the oven for about a ½ hour. And then pull them out, you flip them all over, and you put it in there for another ½ hour. An important thing to note before putting them in the oven is you want to dock the crackers, which means poking a bunch of holes in them. This will help them cook evenly and also will prevent them from expanding too much. You notice in saltines and other crackers, they often have holes in them. And if you'd like, you could make a little pattern or design. Crackers, these hardtacks are very forgiving, so you can get creative with it. There you go. Stick those in the oven, and in an hour, they should be good to go. Now, other recipe variations could have you baking them at a low temperature. We have it at 375, but you can bake it at a lower temperature for more hours. Back in the day, when they were going on ships, you would probably bake it multiple times. Just the goal here is to get out all of the moisture, so that way it doesn't go bad. By go bad, I mean grow mold. You don't want mold biscuits. And once they have baked for an hour, they won't brown very much, and you don't want them to, because the coal here is drying them out. They look like this, and they are very hard, hence the name hardtack. So you definitely don't just bite into one of these, unless you don't value your teeth. Now, how you would eat it is the simplest way would just be to simply put a piece in your mouth, let it soak, and then chew on it as you're walking. However, if you were stationed somewhere, you could dip it in your coffee, you could mash it up with water, people would even mash it up with water, make like a patty, and then fry it in pork fat. And it's a popular dish, very dense. But no matter how you ate hardtack, as long as you store it in a cool, dry place, it'll basically keep forever. Longer than you'll eat it. We still have hardtack from the Civil War that, other than being super stale, is still edible. That's what I have for you today. Yummy, delicious hardtack. Let me just, that'll take me about an hour to eat this way, but I won't keep you around that long. Thank you for joining us, and feel free to stop by the Historic Arkansas Museum. We'll be glad to see you.